Yo, what's up guys? It's Yule here and we're back here with a brand new Endgame of the Week video. And for this one, we're playing as white. So if you want, you can pause the video or you can just relax and I'll explain this endgame position to you. Okay, so we're playing as white and the first thing that you'll probably realize is that we're up a ton of material. We're up a rook and a knight, but black definitely has a lot of threats on his own as well. Because right now he is threatening to play d1, which makes a new queen. And white definitely can't allow that to happen. So here, what's the best move for white? Well, there aren't a lot of pieces left, so we can use the process of elimination. We definitely cannot move the king or the pawn because this will just allow d1. And we definitely do not have a lot of good rook moves either because if we were to play rook takes d4, which after king takes, we get this fork on f3. However, after king to e3, knight takes d2, he can take our pawn on f4, which is a draw because we can't checkmate with just a knight. So we can't take on d4. We also can't check on c5 because the pawn is guarding that square. Therefore, we can also confirm that we can't move the rook. So this leaves us with our only choice, moving the knight, which makes the first move obvious, knight to e4 check. All the other knight moves simply doesn't make sense because it just allows d1. Knight e4 check is a good move because this puts the black king in check, which gains tempo and allows us to further stop the pawn. And after knight e4 check, black has to move his king, and there are three choices here. If he plays king to d3, this will allow knight takes d2, which after king takes, we can take on d4, and this would be an easily winning position because we're up a rook. And if you were to play king to c2, we would to do the same thing with knight takes d2, king takes d2, rook takes d4, and once again we're winning. So his best move would be to play king to c4, which attacks our rook. And right here we can no longer do the knight takes d2 because this allows king takes d5. And although we're up a knight here, this position would be an easy draw for black because here he can play king to e6 followed by king to f5, and which we can no longer defend this pawn. So after king to c4, we definitely cannot play knight takes d2. And right now we have to move our rook, but we can't rush here. If we rush with rook takes d4 check, after king takes, knight takes d2, this is a better position than before because he no longer has this d pawn. But as said before, black still has this nice strategy of king to d5, followed by king to e6, king to f5, and we can no longer defend this pawn. So this position would actually be a draw as well. And if we were to move our knight, let's say knight to f1, this would allow king to e4. And right here, the f pawn is lost. So here we cannot rush with rook takes d4, and we have to move the rook somewhere else. Well, here, rook da is actually a brilliant move because this is the only move that would win for white, and I'll explain to you why later. Here, black could promote and make a new queen. However, after rook c8 check, black doesn't have a lot of good moves for his king, because if he plays king to d3, then knight f2 check would pick up black's queen, because both the king and queen are attacked at once. And after something like king to d2, we can simply take the queen, and this would be easily winning. So black cannot play king to d3. If he plays king to b5, then after knight to d6 check, black's only two moves are king to a5 or king to a6, which both these moves allows rook to aa, which is checkmate. So black can also not play king to b5. Therefore, his only move left would be king to d5. However, after king to d5, we get this really nice tactic, knight to c3 check. This move once again attacks both the king and the queen at once, which forces black to take with the pawn. However, if he does take with the pawn, this opens up the d-file for a rook. And after rook d8 check, we have this really nice skewer attack against the black queen. And after something like king to e4, we can simply take the queen. King takes f4, and after king b3, this would be an easy win because these pawns are not going to survive. So let's go back. Why is rook d8 the only move here? Well, can we also play rook take d7? Doesn't that do the same thing? Well, it does the same thing if he, after queen, rook takes rook c7. It does the same thing if he plays king to d5, but which allows knight c3, pawn takes rook d7. This also wins. However, the big difference between rook d7 and rook d8 is that after rook d7, d1 equals queen, rook c7 check. Black has this really nice king to b5. And here, if we were to follow the same strategy with knight to d6 check, black has king to a6, which we no longer have checkmate. Because if our rook were to be on the 8th rank, we would have checking distance, and rook a8 would be checkmate here. However, our rook is now on the 7th rank, and we do not have enough checking distance, and black would be winning here because he has a queen, and our king is not that safe. Therefore, rook d8 would be the only move and the brilliant move that wins for white. So I hope you enjoyed this Endgame of the Week video. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. I'll see you guys in the next video.